Hi, I'm Tabor Aiken, Public Information Officer for the Lakeville Fire Department. Welcome to another edition of On Call. The goal of this program is to educate and inform citizens of Lakeville about how Lakeville's all-volunteer fire department trains and responds to emergencies. On today's program, we're going to do a best of for you, pulling some of our better episodes from across the years that On Call has been on the air and sharing those with you. When On Call first started in 2002, Fire Marshal Brian Carstensen was the host. A couple of years later, firefighter Jason Amundsen took over, and then in 2005, I started my role as the host of On Call. The episode that we're going to look at first is an episode in which Brian and Jason are talking about the proper use of a fire extinguisher.
We're standing here today with Brian Carstensen, Lakeville Fire Inspector. Brian's going to show us a little bit about fire extinguishers, the proper way to use them in our home, and the proper sizes that we should have in our homes. Thanks for joining us today, Brian.
No problem.
Can you show us a little bit what we got here?
The ones that we have here are just a couple of the different varieties. Extinguishers come in many different sizes. Many different extinguishers do different things. There's different classifications of fire extinguishers. Just a kind of a quick overview of what I have here. The three that I have on the right are all what we call ABC extinguishers. Fires come, there are different classifications of fires. A Class A fire would be a fire that you would typically have in your home, a waste paper basket, something of that nature, some wood or something of that nature. A Class B fire is a flammable liquid or combustible liquid fire. Most commonly seen in a home, a Class B extinguisher would be able to handle a grease fire on a stove or something of that nature. Class C fire is an electrical fire. Most often, again, seen in electrical boxes, an outlet, that type of thing. You need to make sure that your extinguisher is rated for a Class C fire when you are extinguishing anything that is energized. And then they also come in Class D extinguishers, which are more of your exotic metals, which we don't see a lot of. A metal like a magnesium is a good example of some of the metals that are really volatile when water is applied to them. And there are several other extinguishers out there for different purposes, a lot of them, most of them being commercial. What I have here is just three on the right are exactly the same extinguishers, the larger one being the 20-pound, the middle one being a 10-pound extinguisher, and the one on the far left being a 5-pound extinguisher. And they also make these down one step smaller into a 2.5-pound, which are the real short little round ones that you see. These three extinguishers are rated for a Class A, B, and C fire, so it pretty much takes into account everything that you're going to see in your home. The one that I have on the left is a carbon dioxide extinguisher, which emits carbon dioxide, and it is rated for a Class B, again, which is a flammable or combustible liquid fire or an electrical fire. Today, for our purpose, we're going to go ahead and do a little demonstration on the proper use of an extinguisher. And for the demonstration, I'll be using a 5-pound, which I really recommend that each home should have, at a minimum, at least one 5-pound extinguisher someplace in or around the kitchen area. That's the most common area that we have, where the start of fires are. And it's just a good idea to have a 5-pound extinguisher. Gives you a little bit more time, a little bit more firepower to knock down a fire should you have something on your stove or something of that nature. Placement of the extinguisher, most people don't want them hanging on the bracket, sticking on a wall someplace. They get knocked down with the kids and they get bumped into and things like that. What I recommend is you take that extinguisher and get it someplace that's in the vicinity of the kitchen, but someplace where you have to go into a closet or something of that nature, where once you grab that extinguisher, you can make a determination. You go for the extinguisher, you turn around and you realize the fire is growing too large. You're between the fire and an exit. Always get yourself placed, at least if things don't turn out the way you expect them to, you have a way out of the house.
Is there any other place in the house besides the kitchen you should have one? How about a garage?
A garage is a great place. Certainly in a garage, I would want nothing less than a 5-pound extinguisher. The 2.5-pound has the same agent that's in these 5, 10, and 20 pounders. It just gives you much less. It doesn't give you the time that it takes to properly extinguish a fire in a car, in a gas can, a lawnmower, that type of thing. So it just gives you a little bit more knockdown time with a 5-pound or larger.
Okay, why don't we do a demonstration here, Brian, if you could show the residents here what's the proper way to use one of these extinguishers.
Okay, anytime you go to a 5-pound extinguisher or larger, you're going to have the hose with the nozzle on it. This is a little bit easier to use again than the 2.5 pounds. The 2.5 pounds usually have just a small piece hanging out. This is a little bit more flexible and a little bit more user-friendly. When we're using a fire extinguisher, there's an acronym that we follow that's called PASS. It's P-A-S-S. That acronym stands for P for pull the pin. We go ahead and pull the pin. There should be a seal on your extinguisher. It's a very lightweight seal. You pull the pin and it breaks away. The A is for aim. You grab the nozzle of the extinguisher and you place yourself in the proper location, in which we will look at in just a minute. We aim the nozzle, we squeeze the handle. Once I pull the pin, I'm able to squeeze the handle and I will get the agent coming out of here. So that's the first S. The second S is sweep. Once I'm aiming and squeezing, I'm sweeping at the base of the fire. The biggest problem that we find with the use of extinguishers, when they're used misproperly, most of the time they're aiming it at the flames itself. An extinguisher will only extinguish a fire when it's used at the base of the fire. You need to go down to the source. Where is your fire located? And this agent basically goes over, puts a covering over the top of it, and smothers it. It will not put the fire out if you're just up at an upper level spraying at the flames. At this point, we will go ahead and light a fire into our pan that we have. Jason will go ahead and light this fire, and we'll make an attempt at putting this fire out.
Now what we're simulating here is maybe a gasoline fire in a garage, maybe?
A gasoline fire or a grease fire on a stove, something of that nature.
Okay.
This is a flammable liquid that is burning. Again, we have to have the proper extinguisher. We need to make sure for a fire like this that we have a Class B extinguisher. The one that I'm using is a Class A, B, and C extinguisher, so it will work on all 3 classes. The number one thing when you're using a fire extinguisher, a common problem and can be very hazardous, is getting too close to the fire. When you squeeze the nozzle and get that product to go into a liquid fire like we have here, it's very common to get the nozzle in too close and then squeeze, and you'll actually blow the product out of the pan and either onto some furniture, onto the floor, or worse yet, onto you. Number one part of all of this is certainly your own safety. If the fire is larger than what an extinguisher can handle, leave the house, leave the building, and call 911 from a neighbor's house or from a cell phone. At this point, I will go in, start from a safe distance, working my way in, sweeping at the base of the fire.
And only takes about a second to put it out.
It only takes a second when you get down at the base. Also, once you extinguish that fire, always walk backwards away from that fire. Don't ever turn around on a fire, because it can reignite. Just as quickly as I put it out, it can reignite. And you don't want to get caught again with that thing reigniting and getting your clothes on fire, and now we have serious burns and serious damage in the home. Consider a fire extinguisher as nothing more than a Band-Aid. It will put out quite a bit of fire, but you have to be properly trained to do it correctly.
And they can pick up extinguishers in any hardware store, refilling them if they need to, have them checked, any hardware store, most hardware stores.
Most hardware stores do sell them. There are several stores throughout the metro area in the state of Minnesota. You can look in the yellow pages. There are companies that do refill these. Some of the hardware stores do have that service. Any place like that would be a good place to check for an extinguisher. Also, on any fire extinguisher, they should have an annual inspection on an annual basis. You can see the card that we have here. This is just an inspection tag. These have been done. We require all of ours to be done annually. Like all of the other extinguishers that are out there, any commercial business is required to do an annual inspection, much like what we have in the home. So they are required to have a fair amount of maintenance, check your gauge on a monthly checklist. Most of the tags that you get from these companies do have on the back of the tag something that you can date and sign when it was last checked, and any remarks or anything that you would want to put on there.
All right. Well, I'm sure we've learned a lot today on fire extinguishers, and we really appreciate you helping us out here, Brian.
Not a problem.
Here's a reminder for all of our on-call viewers. If you send in a question for Ask Tabor, it can be any question about anything having to do with the fire department. You might win a t-shirt. So far, we've had 3 t-shirt winners, and they're wearing those t-shirts very proudly, and we're looking for another entry. So send your entry in, we'll read through them, pick one that we'll use on the air, and if we pick yours, you'll win a Lakeville Fire Department t-shirt.
Was that my exit? There you are, ma'am, all done.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thanks again.
Everyday emergency workers, as well as maintenance crews, construction crews, and first drivers work on busy roadways. And every day they're at risk of being killed.
On multi-lane highways, please move over one lane. Our lives depend on you.
Training is an important part of being a firefighter, and in 2003 we took a look at some of the work that's involved in doing a controlled burn.
A home on fire. A bedroom engulfed in flames. Curtains burn and bedding is ablaze. An incident like this in most homes could be catastrophic. But this abandoned home is part of a unique way Lakeville firefighters are being trained to combat fires. Through the use of what is called a controlled burn, training officers hope to give both rookies and senior firefighters an up-close look at an actual fire and give them the knowledge to safely put out those fires while keeping themselves out of harm's way. The briefing for this event started some hours earlier at Fire Station Number 2.
When we go in to the scene with the main crew for this first fire, the backup crews are going to come in and they're going to stage about right here inside the house.
Firefighters thoroughly go over today's training plan. The overriding message given by training officers is,
Safety, safety, safety. This is all completely controlled.
after getting a complete description of the home's interior, going over the areas to be burned, and how they will attack and extinguish the flames, firefighters are ready to move to the building site. As vehicles arrive at the designated location, the firefighters set up their various firefighting equipment. With no water hydrants nearby, the firefighters construct a drop pool.
Because of the area that we're in, we don't have any hydrants that are close. Because of the distance, we would have to have an awful long 5-inch supply line. So we've got a couple of drop tanks set up that we use when we're out in rural areas or areas that do not have hydrants. We'll actually use those as kind of a big swimming pool that we'll just draft water out of and then refill the tanks.
Inside the home, Training Officer Tom Lawrence goes through the building with firefighters, explaining what to expect when the fire is lit.
We brought in a bunch of new people that really have to experience a true fire in a structure to understand how the fire behavior works. And in a controlled situation, we can really let them learn and show them and talk to them through a fire versus an actual scene, which may be a lot in a panic situation for them, or something like this is a very controlled situation so they can learn and understand the fire behavior.
Before the fire can be started, firefighters' locations are noted on a board that denotes whether a firefighter is in or out of the building. The flame is lit in a small bedroom. The fire quickly engulfs the drapes and drops flames on the couch. As the flames spread to a bookshelf, the smoke from the fire begins to fill the room. The time from when the fire was started until the bedroom was full of fire and smoke was less than 3 minutes. At this point, crews come in to fight the fire and bring it under control. Ventilation from outside is used to help vent smoke and gases out of the structure. The damage from this relatively small fire is dramatic.
And again, it's all for these new people to understand how the fire scene and fire ground works as a skilled operation.
The second room's fire is attempted to be started by a candle. The drape does not ignite until an officer helps out with its placement. After the drape has been repositioned, the fire quickly burns the drapes. Then, the dresser, bed, and bedding begin to ignite. The flames move up to the ceiling and the smoke begins to fill up the room. Again, the amount of time it took from the start of the burn till the whole room was in flames was around 2 minutes. As the exercise is concluded, heads are counted, smoldering siding is checked and doused. The controlled burn occurred without any injuries to firefighters or camera operators. The intense training these volunteers receive has allowed them to complete this event safely. The men and women of this department have achieved a much-deserved feeling of accomplishment. But what can area residents learn from viewing and observing this training session?
If they do have a structure fire in their home or any type of fire situation that they need to get out, imperative, you should be able to hear we set off several smoke alarms and smoke detectors in the house, so when this starts to go, you should be able to hear them. If you hear those things in the night when you're sleeping or any other time, you need to get out. That's the time to go. Those things need to happen, and they happen quickly.
As we continue our look at the best of LFD On Call, we're going to go back to 2006 when we aired a segment with Fire Inspector Jay O'Connell on winter heating safety. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Tabor.
Thanks for joining me here. We are at the home of one of Lakeville's residents and a very generous offer to come into the house. And Jay, we're going to talk a little bit about some winter heating safety today, and we've got a wonderful wood fireplace here to start with.
Yes, these wood fireplaces are great to have. They kick out a lot of heat for your house. It's nice aesthetically too. But one thing we got to watch out for is we've got fire inside of a house. With the fireplace, we've got some safety options on this fireplace here. It's a screening that you can close. You can hear the crackle of the fire, but the log's not going to roll out of the fireplace and get onto the carpet, okay? The other thing we have is when you're going to bed late at night, your fire's still roaring, what you want to do is close the glass covers. And this one actually has nice locks on it, so we can lock it closed.
Fantastic.
Now with the fireplaces, you want to make sure that you keep it clear in front of the fireplace. You don't want your extra paper that you use to start the fire with around there. If it's holiday time, you might have stockings. You want to make sure you take those off before you light your fire.
And how about once we have the fire going, Jay? You talked about the glass doors, you talked about the screen. How about children around the fireplace?
Right, very good point. You want to keep the kids away because this is going to be hot. If the glass is closed, it's going to heat up. You want to keep them away. That's why we got a nice ledge to keep people away from the fireplace.
And one of the things that we hear a lot about, Jay, in the wintertime are chimney fires. Can you talk a little bit about that piece of we get to see, you talked about this, it's beautiful, we see the fire, it's gorgeous, we feel the heat, and I think oftentimes people forget about the chimney because we don't see it.
Yes. When you have a wood-burning fireplace, you have a flue in the back that lets all the hot and smoke and gas up through the flue and up to the chimney, okay? Now, when you're burning wood, if you're burning wood that's not aged, or it's a pine, or you're throwing other stuff in here, that's going to line the chute with creosote, and it can also burn after time once it gets hot enough, and that's where you get your fire,
and that's
where the flames are shooting out at the top of the chimney.
That's the creosote that's burning inside that chimney. Okay. And you talked about items that you're burning. Are there some things that we should not be burning in the fireplace, like wood's an obvious one that we would burn? I think people commonly use wood fireplaces as a way to get rid of other things, like maybe wrapping paper after the holidays.
That's bad, because the wrapping paper is just paper, and it's going to go right into the flue and stick to the sides.
Okay.
And if you do that over and over, it's going to stick, and you get a good hot fire, it's going to start that whole flue, and you're going to have flames coming out the top of your chimney.
Okay. So when
And-
when we have a wood fireplace, we want to restrict it to strictly being a wood fireplace, not a wood and everything else we can throw in
You
it.
can use a little bit of newspaper to get your fire started,
Okay.
but then after that, you want to keep the newspaper away. You
Okay.
just want to use it for starting. Don't want to put any green wood in there.
Okay.
No construction lumber.
Okay.
You want just wood that's from trees that's aged.
Okay. Now, we talked about the chimney sweep. The chimney sweep's going to come in. He or she's going to clean out the chimney and stop right about here, correct?
Okay.
What about this part?
Now, Tabor's talking about the chimney sweep. That's a professional cleaner that comes out, and if you use your fireplace actively during the winter, you should clean it at least once a year. At my house, I don't use it that often, so I'm cleaning in every other year. But if you use it a lot, it's a professional chimney sweep companies. You can find them in the phone book or on the web. They will come out and do a professional cleaning from here all the way up into your chimney.
Okay.
Get all that creosote out, prevent that fire from happening up there.
Okay.
So
when they're done, and I've got to take this part of the fireplace, I need to take care of this. What do I do here?
right. That's where you got your tools here.
Okay.
You can use your shovel to scoop out the ashes with out of the fireplace. And what you want to have is a nice bucket. This is a metal can here. You can either bring wood into the house with it, or what's nice is you can take the ashes, shovel them into here. It's a nice hard can, and you can take that, set that outside, okay? Because these ashes can stay hot for up to 3 days. Most people think 24 hours is good enough. If you put it in a paper bag and a plastic garbage can, we're going to have a garage fire.
Okay.
So it's good to put it in a metal can, and we'll take that out outside and put it outside and let your ashes sit. And then after 3 days, then you're probably good to throw them in the can.
Okay. Throw them in the garbage can. You can
Yep.
get rid of them.
Get rid of
Fantastic.
them.
Well, we talked a little bit. We got the metal can here. We talked a little bit about how this type of fireplace works. Let's talk about some other types of fireplaces, and maybe let's follow the ashes and head outside, and we can talk about the ashes once they're outside and the final disposal of those, but also some other heating sources.
Okay.
Great.
Let's
Thanks, Jay.
grab our can.
Fantastic.
And we'll head out to the
Here we
garage.
go. Okay, Jay, we've got the bucket of ashes. We're outside of the house. These have been in the fireplace for at least 24 hours. We've got them outside, so we can let them sit here. And how long do we want to let them sit outside of the house in the bucket?
Well, you want to do a total of up to 3 days.
Okay.
From the last fire.
Okay. And then once it's been in here up to 3 days, I can put it in my regular trash can?
Yeah, it
and
should
then
be okay.
put it out on the curb.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Well, let's head in the garage and we can talk a little bit about some other heating sources. Okay, Jay, let's keep our theme of winter heaters going here. We talked about the wood fireplace. We talked about proper disposal of the ash from the fireplace. Now we're in the garage. We've got a couple of different kinds of heaters here. Let's talk about these two first, which look like outdoor heaters.
Mm-hmm. These are for like your garage.
Okay.
This heater here, plug it in. You run into some issues with the carbon monoxide, so you want to keep your garage door open or a man door, walk-in door open so that you can get some fresh air coming in. This is another type of heater. Plugs in, can blow the heat too.
Okay.
So key with these, both of them, don't use the extension cord with them. Keep a area probably 3 feet around, safe zone.
Okay, and that's clear of any debris or anything like that?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then one of the things that a lot of people are doing, and we can see that the garage that we're in here is set up for, it's got a shop in it. And a lot of people are mounting permanent heaters in those shops. And those have to be ventilated, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
If you have a heater in your garage, that does need to be ventilated.
Okay. And that we would want to make sure there's some professional assistance with that, and that's all checked out.
Yeah, there will
through
be
city
some
inspectors.
ducting that goes through the wall and to the outside.
Okay, fantastic. Well, then let's transition back and talk a little bit more about inside heaters. This is a pretty small one. I know people have a variety of sources indoors to heat houses, including electric heaters like this one, as well as gas fireplaces. So can you talk about this for a little bit?
This is actually an older model. The newer models now have like a tip hazard. When tips over, it shuts off.
Okay.
So this one you really need to be safe with. It is an electric. Once again, don't use your extension cord. And you want to keep, a 3-foot area around. You don't want drapes hanging on it.
Okay.
Kids, you don't want them playing around it.
Okay. We talk a lot about in fire safety, we talk a lot about candle safety. So when we go out, we blow out the candle.
Yeah.
Does the same rule apply to a space heater? When we go out, we need to turn this off?
Space heater is mainly used for when you're in the room.
Okay.
And if you're going to leave and go shopping, yeah, turn it off, turn it back on when you get home.
Okay.
You know, it's just heating a little space. So
Okay.
that's why you only want it on when you're around.
And the longer we're outside here in the garage, the colder I'm getting. So I'm starting to think about gas fireplaces and warming up when we go back inside. And another great source of heat, I know a lot of houses have gas fireplaces, even as part of the standard construction now. Talk a little bit about the safety with a gas fireplace.
Well, with the gas fireplace, you're getting into obviously gas to heat it off.
Okay.
So you're getting into maybe some issues with carbon monoxide.
Okay.
So it's good to have a carbon monoxide detector. With the gas fireplaces, you actually probably don't need to clean the flue because it's clean burning fuel.
Okay.
So you're okay there. It's still going to be hot. You want to keep the kids away from it. Keep the fireplace clean. You don't want, paper right out in front of it. So
Okay, or the
some of the
stockings.
same things apply with the gas.
Great. So you've got the carbon monoxide detector there, and one of the things that we have coming up on call today is Fire Chief Scott Nelson is going to tell us a little bit about carbon monoxide detectors and safety with carbon monoxide. Jay, thanks for joining us today. This has been very informative. Learned a lot about safety tips associated with winter heating. The last thing we need to talk about while you're here on call are fire hydrants and how we would take care of those fire hydrants in the winter.
Yes.
We need to shovel them out, right?
Right. We want people
Okay.
to shovel out that hydrant. It'll be faster for the firefighters when there's an emergency. Time matters to us. So if we don't have to take time to do that. But speaking about that, how about we have you shovel out a hydrant?
I've already shoveled mine out by my house. It's clear. Good
But
to go.
I've got a special one picked out for you. We can pull out the stopwatch, show everybody, and once they see you doing it, they're going to get inspired and shovel their own hydrants.
Fantastic, because it's important to remind folks that the city does not shovel out the hydrants. So I'm up for it, Jay.
All right.
You want to do it right now, or you want to do it another
Yeah,
day?
my van's parked right out front.
Oh, I bet it is.
I got a shovel handy,
Oh, I'm
and
not
we
surprised.
can go for it.
Let's go.
All right. Tabor, can you see the stick?
I can just see the reflective pole there, Jay. This is a really well-buried fire hydrant
Yes. It's nice that the city puts the sticks in there for us.
to help it out, but it's very important that this hydrant gets shoveled out.
So I got my stopwatch, Tabor, and I'm going to start it right about now. And
Okay.
we'll see how long it takes to shovel this out. Now, while Tabor is shoveling out, it's valuable time that's wasted right now trying to shovel out the hydrant. The fire is still growing wherever we're at, if this is a business or a residence. So his job is right now to shovel out the hydrant, grab the hose out of the back of the truck, and hook up to the fire hydrant and get water to the fire truck. Now Tabor's really doing good. This is a really tough one because the snowplow pushed it in. But we've got to get enough room for our 5-inch hose to get connected to that main steamer on the front side of the hydrant there. Sure, this is a good workout for Tabor.
It's a great workout.
But see, if you take the time to do this and it's your house, you're going to be saving us valuable time trying to shovel out the hydrant and let alone find it in the middle of the street. As we said before, the city does not shovel out the hydrants. So as a citizen, you need to work with your neighbors and figure out who's going to help you out and take care of it. Sure glad I'm not shoveling.
Well, that's definitely good enough for us to get a hose connected to a truck.
Now, Tabor, that took almost a minute and a half for you to shovel that out.
And what I'm going to do by my house, Jay, is I have mine cleared out a lot more. There's a much bigger path.
Yep.
This
But-
one we've just done to emphasize the point that all that snow impeded the progress.
Right.
This is a minute and a half that we could have had a hose hooked up, had hose lines and firefighters going into a building.
Correct. And what we want to do is make sure you can see the hydrant from the road. We'll see the stick, but then from the road, you want to go from the curb all the way to the hydrant and have that cleared out for us.
Yep. So this is still a little bit of work left to be done on this one.
There is, but I'll let you have a break on this one.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for
Good
joining
work.
us on Call. Thank you very much. Thanks for the challenge.
Would you do this in your home? How about this? And you certainly wouldn't do this. Then why would you do this? Careless smoking is the #1 cause of fire fatalities. You can protect your family and your home from fire. Visit GetYourButtOutside.com. Brought to you by the Minnesota State Fire Chiefs Association and the Minnesota Fair Plan.
Over the years, Scratch the Fire Dog has been educating residents and having fun in his segment, Kids Corner. In this episode, Scratch and his friend Sydney are talking about why it's important to have a fire escape plan.
Hey, greetings everyone. It is I, Scratch the Fire Dog, because I like to scratch out the fires. Hey, we're here to talk about family fire drill plans, and to help me out today, I've got my little niece Sydney. Hey, Sydney, come on in.
Where are you? Hi. Uncle Scratch, thank you so much for coming. Do you like my room? How do you like my... Oh, my closet is full of really cool clothes. I love cool clothes. Do you like cool clothes? Because I've got cool clothes.
Sydney.
If you would like to look
Sydney,
at my...
sit! Stay. Good girl.
Thank you. No.
Sydney! Very good. Now, we are going to talk about a few things to stay safe here if we ever have a fire here in our home.
Oh, that scares me a little bit.
Oh, no, but that's why we're going to learn about this stuff so you don't have to be scared.
Oh, thank you, Uncle Scratch. You're such a good dog.
Now, the first thing we need to talk about is what you do when an emergency happens.
What do you do when there is an emergency?
Hey, well, when there's an emergency, there's 3 numbers that you can call. Do you know what those are, Sydney?
7429.
Nope, try again.
64, 128, and 301.
Hey, Sydney.
What?
Have you ever heard of a 911?
Sounds familiar.
That's right. Anytime you get in trouble, you need to call 911.
That's
and
right.
See, no, we're talking about fires. That's the number you call to if there happens to be a fire in your home.
911.
That's right. But hey, you know what we also have to talk about?
Oh, no, what?
Do you know that you always need to have 2 ways out of every room?
2 ways? Oh, no, that's too much for me to think about. I can't think 2 ways. Oh, 2 ways. I don't know if there's 2 ways. I've only got 1 room.
Hey, Sydney, here in your room, what would be 2 ways that you'd get out of your bedroom?
Through the electrical outlet? No.
No, that's a funny, but that's not right. How about the one would be how you usually get into your room?
The door!
Very good. One is the door, and the other would be the window. Hey, how do you think you might get out of the window there, Scratch?
Oh, I don't know if I can get out of the window. Look at it, it's high. That's a long drop. Yeah. What do? I don't know how to jump. I don't know how to bounce. I'm not a kangaroo.
Well,
I don't know what I'm going to do.
If you just be quiet a minute, I tell you. Hey, you're just like your mother. Got to learn to talk a little less and listen a little more.
All right, I'm listening.
There's several ways that you could get out. If the firefighters arrive, they would be there to help you. But a lot of homes these days carry a portable ladder that your parents can show you how to use, put it out the window, and then you can safely make your way out of the house.
Now that sounds kind of fun.
Hey, you bet. And another thing we have to do is talk about a meeting place.
Oh.
If there's ever a fire in your home, you need to go to a place where you can account for all your relatives. Hey, Sydney, how many kids are there in your family?
I have 455 brothers, and I have 268 sisters, and then I have, a pet.
Well, what kind of pet do you have?
I have a cat.
A cat?
Yes.
What's the cat's name?
Well, it's history now, so we don't have him anymore.
What a good name for a cat. History. Very good. Well, hey, if your whole family, it sounds like you got about 800, the best place for you to have a meeting place, should you have a fire in your house, is the neighbors. Because once you get to the neighbors, then you can safely dial 911 when you get over there.
Right, that 911.
Hey, very good. Now, oh, you know what I forgot?
What?
Hey, we got to remember, if there is a fire in your home, you got to check the door.
Check the door?
You know what you have to do to check the door?
I don't know. Do I have to see if it's standing tall enough? Is it the right color? I know if it's the right color.
You know what you need to do?
No, I don't.
You need to feel the door with the back of your hand to see if the door is hot. Now, the important thing, if the door is not hot, you can open it. But if you open it and you see smoke, you need to stay low, and then you can crawl under the smoke and get out of the house.
Stay low like this? Is this low enough, Uncle Scratch?
That's pretty low. Hey, Sydney, do you think you're ready to do a practice fire drill?
Sure, I'd love to. There be fun. I love doing practice fire drills. I've never done one before, but if I can do one, I would love to do it, especially with you, Uncle Scratch, because you're here and you're in my house. And do you like
Would you stop talking so much?
Sorry.
All right, we got some fake smoke here that we're going to use.
Fake smoke?
And it's not scary.
It's
this
not?
is what they use in the TV shows and on the stage.
Oh, very exciting.
All right, Sydney? Sydney!
Hello?
Hey,
Uncle Scratch?
Sydney, where'd you go?
Are you there?
I'm right here.
Where?
Oh!
Oh!
There you are. Now, hey, you tried the door. Remember all your safety tips.
Okay.
And I'm going to head out the door and use the special ladder we were talking about.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds
Let's go
good.
this way.
Can't stay
watch
though.
where you go.
Ouch,
That
ouch,
was-
can't see. Oh,
Good
ouch,
luck.
ouch. Oh, I don't want to touch the doorknob. It might be hot. I'm going to touch the door with the back of my hand. Feels cool. Safe to go. Uncle Scratch, I'm going out this way. It's safe.
Hey there, everybody. I got the ladder down, the smoke detector's going, and now I can safely get out the window by using the ladder. This is great! Scratch is okay, everybody. I landed on my head. Hey, let's go to the family meeting place and meet back up with the Sydney. Sydney!
Uncle Scratch, come here quick.
Sydney, hey, you made it safely to the meeting place. Hey, are you okay?
Yes, I am, and I talked to the neighbor, and she's calling 911.
Wait a minute, why are you having her call 911, Sydney?
Because there was a fire in our house.
Sydney, there's not a fire in our house. We're doing a practice fire drill.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh, what's the big idea? You're not supposed to call the fire department unless you have a real fire.
I'm sorry, I
Sydney,
didn't know. Yes.
go to your kennel.
Oh,
Shame on you, naughty puppy. Folks, this is Scratch the Fire Dog. Hey, we had a great time teaching you about family fire drills. So, until next time, this is Scratch the Fire Dog, because I like to scratch out the fires. Uh-oh, here comes the fire department. I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do to Chief Nelson. Oh, boy. Relatives.
I hope that your family has a plan in case you have a fire at your house and you're able to get out safely. That past episode reminds me of an episode that I got to do with Scratch, and we talked about what it's like to get paged on a fire call.
Greetings, everyone. It is I, Scratch the Fire Dog, because I like to scratch out the fires. Hey, well, we're here today at the Tabor's house, and I'm waiting for Tabor to show up, because today we are going to watch the best of the show, the On the Call show. But hey, I sent Tabor out to get some snacks, and he still hasn't come back.
Scratch, I'm here, and I got some treats for us.
Hey, Tabor, come on over here. Hey, look at that. You got my favorite tiny size of a dog biscuit. And what did you get yourself? The lima chips?
Oh, I got the lime chips. Maybe a little bit of salsa too, Scratch.
I told you not to use those. They give you bad breath, Tabor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's important for a session like this.
Absolutely. Hey, what are we going to watch here today, Tabor?
I think we're going to watch the best of On Call,
Hey,
which is pretty much every show.
That's true, especially
Yes.
my segments.
I would agree with you.
But,
Yes.
you know what? I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
As we're sitting here watching the show, do you ever get paged out to have to do a fire call?
It certainly could happen. It's hard to predict. The fire calls are unpredictable, so happens while you're watching TV, eating dinner, sometimes when you're sleeping, when I'm at work. Comes up all the time. So as a Lakeville firefighter, we're ready to go whenever we're asked to go.
Hey, well, how do you get asked to go? Hey, wait a minute. What's that sound?
Well, that sound right here is the pager, Scratch, so that means we're going on a call right now.
Wait a minute, we gotta go now?
We gotta go now.
Oh, okay, wait for me, Tabor!
Come on, Scratch, if you're coming with, let's go.
Hey, I'm coming, but I only got the 4 legs. Where do you want me to go?
Get in the back seat.
Ah! Okay, I'm all set, Tabor. Hit it.
Oh, here we go, Scratch. You got your seatbelt on, right, Scratch?
I don't think there's any doggy seatbelts back here.
Oh, I think there must be one.
I'll just strap myself in.
Okay.
Hey, Tabor, now, do we go as fast as we can get into the station?
You know, as tempting as it would be to do that, we don't get to do that, Scratch. We need to drive the speed limit and follow all the regular rules.
Yeah, but somebody's house may be on fire. Someone may be choking from CO. Don't you want to be in a big, big hurry?
That's the hard part, is we all want to be in a really big hurry. We want to get there as quickly as possible, especially if it's something like a house fire and they're waiting for the fire department to get there. Other calls like a medical, there's going to be police officers and paramedics there, but if it's a fire, yeah, you want to drive as quickly as you can, but we're not allowed to. So we have to restrain ourselves a little bit. Sometimes there's other cars. You can't pass them or anything like that. You got to take your turn.
So what you're telling me, Tabor, is safety first.
Absolutely. That's why I was asking you about your safety belt, your seat belt. You got to safety first, take our time. Once we get in the station, then you're going to see the firefighters running, getting their stuff, and getting on the truck as quickly as possible.
Let's hurry.
Scratch, get your head back in the truck. We're almost at the fire station.
Oh, this is pretty cool. I've never been on a real fire call before. Oh boy, I'm a little nervous. Should I be nervous?
You don't need to be nervous.
Oh, now what happens when we
just
get in
fine.
the parking lot here? Do we park all over the place? How does this work?
Now, usually everybody parks as close to the station as they can and tries to leave a little bit of space for the guy that pulled in just in front of them.
Oh, this is so cool.
And then we're going to walk inside.
Oh,
you
get
coming with
inside.
me,
I'll meet
Scratch,
you
or you staying here?
Oh, but wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. I want to come with you guys. Hey, fellas, wait for me. I want to go on the fire call too.
Brian, you driving? You know where we're going?
Hey, Tabor. Hey, what's going on here? Looks like everybody's moving lickety spit. Hey.
Well, that's certainly the object, Scratch, is to get the gear on and get out the door as quickly as possible.
Oh, well, hey, and everybody's got a little name up there. Is that so they don't forget to wear their uniforms are?
I suppose. I don't think that we would. You get kind of used to going to the same spot. But
Wow, what's all the stuff you're putting on? You're putting boots, overcoats on. Hey, wait a minute. You guys are moving too fast for me. Hey, we got to get going.
We
got to
won't
get
leave
on the
without you,
car.
Scratch.
Oh. Hey, Tabor, wait for me. Hey, Tabor, don't I get to go on the fire call with you? I was there to get the call, to get the uniforms on. Don't I get to come with you?
you did a great job responding, Scratch, but we've got to go and only trained firefighters get to ride on the truck. We'll see you later.
But I'm house trained.
You're house trained. You're
Yeah.
very well house trained.
Oh, come on, Tabor, please.
See you later, Scratch.
Oh,
You can stand
there
up and
he's
watch
going.
the truck when we
Come
get
on.
back.
Come on. Oh. They wouldn't take me along because I wasn't fire trained, but I did tell them I was house trained. Tabor!
Well, that sounds like the fire pager going off, which means we're on our way to another call. While I finish getting my gear on and the rest of the crew arrives, we're going to leave you with another episode. This one is one that we did. We took a look at some of the things that firefighters need to be successful. We're here at fire station number 2. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that make firefighters successful. I learned pretty quickly that a firefighter cannot do everything by him or herself. You need a couple of key elements. One being the gear that we use, 2 being the support at home or behind the scenes. We're going to bring those 2 elements together for the first Lakeville Fire Department fashion show. We're going to highlight some of the gear we use, and then I've brought in some of the support that helps us get our work done, namely my wife and Lieutenant Sellner's wife, who will be hosting the Lakeville Fire Department fashion show. Here we go.
Thanks, Tabor. I'm Michelle. And I'm Beth. First up tonight, we have engineer Don Johnson from station number 2.
Each of the firefighters is issued 2 of these more comfortable shirts. They wear them for station tours, they wear them for their bi-monthly training, and they wear them for other public events.
This shirt sports the LFD logo on the front left side, along with the station number the firefighter is from. In addition to this, the shirt states Lakeville Fire Rescue on the back. Don, why don't you spin around and show us both sides of that marvelous shirt? Thanks,
Very
Don.
nice.
Next up, we have Steve Galinsky from station number 4. Steve is modeling the dress uniform of a regular firefighter. Notice the black shoes, the navy blue pants, navy blue short-sleeved shirt with a silver badge and silver accoutrements.
Steve, can you point out that hardware for us?
Very nice.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Steve.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lieutenant Todd Sellner modeling the dress uniform for an officer.
Lieutenants, captains, and chiefs are issued white uniform shirts with gold badges and gold accoutrements. The insignia on their collar indicates their rank. 1 trumpet indicates a lieutenant, 2 for a captain, 3 for a district chief, 4 for the assistant, and 5 for the chief. Thanks, Todd.
You're welcome.
All right, folks, now we have something really special for you. we have our Ice Commander suit.
As you might have guessed, this suit is worn for ice rescue. With this suit on, firefighters can move out onto the ice or enter the water to assist victims onto dry land. Each one of the 4 stations in Lakeville is equipped with 2 of these ice rescue suits. The suit is all one piece, keeping Paul warm and dry in the water. These suits are not designed to be used for diving or to be completely submerged. Remember, Paul, no swimming while wearing the Ice Commander suit.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
After a truck, turnout gear is probably the most associated item with a firefighter. In Lakeville, all firefighters wear their turnout gear, also known as bunker gear, for calls.
This handsome firefighter is wearing turnout gear. Turnout gear consists of boots, pants, coat, hood, helmet, and the SCBA, or self-contained breathing apparatus. You can see the mask in the front and the tank on the back. You know, Beth, I wonder how long it takes these guys to get geared up. That's a lot of gear.
I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so? Tabor, why don't you show us how long it takes?
I bet he can do it in less than 1 minute.
Let's see. While Tabor's demonstrating how fast he can get his bunker gear on, I'd like to share a fast fact with you. The pants, the coat, and the hood are made out of a material called Nomex, which is fire resistant but not fireproof.
Beth, did you know that if the bunker gear gets ripped or torn, that it needs to be repaired or replaced?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if the bunker gear gets damaged in any way, it can compromise the safety of the firefighter, so it needs to be repaired as soon as possible.
Another piece of information is the tags that are inside a firefighter's helmet. They're called PAR tags, which stands for Personal Accountability Recorder. These tags are used to track all the firefighters that are at the scene, as well as the location of where they are at the scene, whether they're in the building or on a hose line. Wow.
Wow, Tabor, that was quick. Thanks.
Thanks, Tabor. And last but not least, we have our Proud Supporter shirt. These shirts are available at Lakeville Fire Station number 1, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. They come in maroon, gray, green, and black.
We want to thank our fine models.
That was a great show, everyone.
That's a wrap.
Well, that concludes our look at past episodes of LFD On Call. If you have questions, comments, an idea for a show, feel free to contact us. You can call us at 952-985-4700 or use the email address on your screen and send me an email. Thanks for joining us. All fire units are not cleared.
How could this happen?
Minnesota suffers 3 deaths and $2.5 million in property loss each year at the hands of children.
I don't know.
All children have a fascination with fire. How will it affect your home? Paid for by the Minnesota Fair Plan.